Imagine sitting in a completely silent room. No TV. No traffic. No music. Yet all you can hear is ee. A constant ringing. A buzzing. A hissing sound that never seems to stop. Now imagine hearing it every single day. While you're working. Trying to read. Or lying awake at 2 a.m., wondering if you'll ever experience real silence again. For millions of people around the world, that's everyday life. What's even more frustrating is that many are told, your hearing looks normal, or, you'll just have to learn to live with it. But is that really the whole story? Or are we missing something much bigger? In this video, we're going to explore what modern research says about tinnitus, why it happens, why some people notice it gets worse after certain triggers, and the lifestyle changes that may help some people reduce its impact. By the end of this video, you'll understand tinnitus in a completely different way. Let's get started. Story transition, 050 to 145. Meet James. A 52-year-old father who had never been to a loud concert. He never worked around heavy machinery. He wasn't taking any medications known to affect hearing. Yet one morning, he woke up with a faint ringing in his left ear. At first, it only appeared at night. Then it became louder. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. He visited doctor after doctor. His hearing tests looked mostly normal. His ears looked healthy. Everything seemed fine. But the ringing never stopped. Then something unexpected happened. While making changes to improve his overall health, including eating differently and losing weight, he noticed something surprising. The ringing didn't disappear overnight. But it gradually became less noticeable. Was it just a coincidence? Or could there be more to tinnitus than most people realize? That's exactly what researchers have been trying to answer. Before we talk about what might help, we first need to understand what's actually happening inside the body when you hear a sound that doesn't really exist. To understand tinnitus, imagine you're listening to your favorite song. Now suddenly, someone removes one of the instruments from the recording. Your brain immediately notices that something is missing. According to current research, something similar may happen inside your hearing system. In many cases, tinnitus isn't caused by a real sound in the environment. Instead, it's the brain responding to changes in the signals it receives from the ears. Think of your ears as microphones. They constantly send electrical signals to your brain. When those signals change, whether because of age-related hearing loss, exposure to loud noise, certain medications, or other factors, the brain sometimes compensates by becoming more sensitive. Instead of hearing silence, it creates the perception of sound. That's why tinnitus is often described as a phantom sound. No one else can hear it. But to the person experiencing it, it feels completely real. And here's something that surprises many people. Some individuals with tinnitus have hearing loss that doesn't always show up on a standard hearing test. Traditional hearing tests mainly focus on whether you can detect sounds within a certain range of frequencies. But more specialized testing may reveal subtle changes that routine screenings can miss. That's one reason two people with similar hearing test results can have very different experiences. So if the ringing isn't always coming directly from the ear, what causes those hearing signals to change in the first place? The answer isn't just one thing. It's many different factors working together. Years of exposure to loud music, power tools, construction work, military service, even listening to headphones at very high volume over long periods. As we age, the tiny sensory cells inside the inner ear naturally become less effective. Certain medications can also affect hearing in some people. Ear infections, earwax buildup, head injuries, problems involving the jaw joint, and in rare cases, underlying medical conditions. Each of these can influence how the hearing system functions. But researchers have also begun exploring another piece of the puzzle: overall metabolic health. Some studies have found that conditions such as diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease are associated with a higher likelihood of experiencing tinnitus. This doesn't necessarily mean one causes the other. Instead, scientists believe these conditions may affect the health of nerves and blood vessels throughout the body, including those involved in hearing. That's an important distinction. Association does not automatically mean causation. Still, it's one reason many experts encourage looking beyond the ears alone and considering a person's overall health when evaluating persistent tinnitus. And that leads to another fascinating question. Why do some people notice the ringing gets dramatically louder after a stressful day, or when they're exhausted, even though nothing has changed in their ears? The answer lies in one of the most powerful organs in the human body: the brain. And once you understand how stress, attention, and sleep influence tinnitus, you'll begin to see why the same ringing can feel almost unbearable one day, and barely noticeable the next. Have you ever noticed something strange? The ringing doesn't always stay the same. Some days, it's barely noticeable. Other days, it feels impossible to ignore. So what changes? One of the biggest factors isn't necessarily your ears. It's your brain's attention system. Think about this. Right now, you're probably not paying attention to the feeling of your shirt touching your shoulders, or the pressure of your feet against the floor. Your brain filters out thousands of sensations every second so you can focus on what's important. The same thing happens with sound. When you're busy talking with friends, working, watching TV, or walking outside, your brain has plenty of real sounds to process. The ringing often fades into the background. But at night, everything changes. The house becomes quiet. The traffic disappears. The television turns off. Suddenly, that ringing becomes the loudest sound in the room. The sound itself may not have changed very much, but your awareness of it has. Now add another factor: stress. When you're anxious, overwhelmed, or constantly worried, your brain becomes more alert. It's scanning your environment for anything unusual. Unfortunately, that heightened state of alertness can also make tinnitus feel more noticeable. That's why many people report their symptoms becoming worse during stressful periods of life, even if nothing has changed with their hearing. Sleep can also play an important role. Poor sleep doesn't necessarily cause tinnitus, but it can make coping with it much more difficult. And tinnitus itself can interfere with sleep, creating a frustrating cycle. Less sleep. More stress. More stress. Greater awareness of the ringing. Greater awareness. Even more difficulty falling asleep. Breaking that cycle is often one of the most important parts of managing tinnitus. Researchers have found that approaches such as improving sleep habits, reducing stress, and, for some people, cognitive behavioral therapy can make tinnitus feel significantly less disruptive, even if the sound doesn't disappear completely. That may sound surprising. The goal isn't always to eliminate the sound. Sometimes, it's helping the brain stop treating it like an emergency. And here's the encouraging part. The human brain is remarkably adaptable. Over time, many people naturally begin to notice the ringing less as the brain learns to filter it out. This process is known as habituation. It's similar to how you eventually stop noticing the hum of an air conditioner or the ticking of a clock. The sound is still there, but your brain decides it's no longer important. Of course, that doesn't happen overnight. But understanding how tinnitus works can be empowering. Because once you realize your brain plays a major role in how you experience the sound, you can begin focusing on strategies that support both your hearing and your overall well-being. So, what practical steps can you start taking today? Which habits are supported by research? And just as importantly, Which popular miracle cures should you be skeptical of? Let's separate the myths from the evidence. So, if you've been dealing with tinnitus, where do you go from here? The first thing to remember is this. Tinnitus is different for everyone. For one person, it may be related to hearing loss. For another, it may be influenced by stress, poor sleep, or an underlying medical condition. That's why there isn't one solution that works for everyone. But there are several evidence-based steps that may help reduce its impact over time. First, protect your hearing. If you're around loud machinery, concerts, or power tools, wear proper hearing protection. Avoid turning your headphones up to maximum volume for long periods. Your ears recover far better from prevention than from damage. Second, pay attention to your overall health. Research has found that people with conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, and cardiovascular disease are more likely to experience tinnitus. That doesn't mean these conditions directly cause it. But taking care of your overall health, through regular exercise, a balanced diet, maintaining a healthy weight, and getting enough sleep, supports your entire body, including your hearing system. Third, notice your personal triggers. For some people, tinnitus becomes more noticeable after poor sleep. For others, stress is the biggest trigger. Some people report changes after consuming large amounts of caffeine or alcohol, while others notice no difference at all. The best approach is to keep a simple journal. Write down how loud the ringing feels today, how well you slept, your stress level, any major dietary changes. After a couple of weeks, you may begin to notice patterns that are unique to you. And finally, don't ignore sudden changes. If your tinnitus starts suddenly, affects only one ear, pulses in rhythm with your heartbeat, or is accompanied by sudden hearing loss, dizziness, or balance problems, it's important to seek medical care promptly, as these symptoms can sometimes indicate conditions that need urgent evaluation. Now here's the encouraging news. Many people find that tinnitus becomes much less disruptive over time. Sometimes that's because an underlying cause is identified and treated. Sometimes it's because the brain gradually learns to tune the sound out. And sometimes it's a combination of healthy habits, hearing care, and time. The important thing is not to lose hope. If you've been hearing that ringing for weeks, months, or even years, it doesn't automatically mean things will never improve. Science is continuing to uncover more about how tinnitus works, and researchers are exploring new ways to help people manage it. So here's a simple challenge for you. For the next 7 days, rate your tinnitus each evening on a scale from 1 to 10. At the same time, track your sleep, stress, exercise, and any major lifestyle changes. You're not trying to prove a miracle cure. You're gathering information about your own body. Sometimes the smallest patterns lead to the biggest breakthroughs. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe because every week we break down the latest health research into simple, practical advice you can actually use. And if you know someone who's struggling with constant ringing in their ears, share this video with them. It might be the first step toward understanding what's really happening. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next video.